and welcome to tonight's Undaunted, bringing into the news on Church Stories. I am Oyi Okmala. Let's begin. The situation in the Cameroons is marked by rising concern over violence against women and children, which the government has described as a national emergency. At the same time, attention is drawn to the ongoing crisis in southern Cameroons, the English-speaking communities, where the humanitarian impact of the war remains severe. Amidst this backdrop, the Southern Cameroon's independence movement has reaffirmed its commitment to pursuing Ambazonian sovereignty, with its leadership stressing unity, resilience, and sustained determination despite years of conflict and displacement. Observers note that the overlapping crises have deepened public concern over safety, governance, and long-term stability in affected areas. They argue that addressing both gender-based violence and the wider conflict-related insecurity will be crucial for any meaningful progress towards peace, accountability, and social cohesion in the country. Now let's get into the full briefings of Undaunted, but first, the headlines. Right tonight on Undaunted, Southern Cameroon's leadership reaffirms commitment to sovereignty aspiration. Also tonight on Undaunted, charred body discovered inside Burns vehicle in Bamenda's Mile 6 Nkwen industrial zone. Mpox case has been confirmed in Buea. Tonight, Cameroon declares violence against women as a national emergency. All the Africans in Benin's new president visits Niger and Burkina Faso in a bid to reset regional ties. While on the global scene, UN General Assembly elects 5 nations to Security Council for 2027-2028 term. Now let's get the news in full briefings. Starting the news tonight, supporters of the Southern Cameroon self-determination movement have renewed calls for unity and perseverance, describing the pursuit of Ambazonian sovereignty as their foremost political objective. The reaffirmation comes as movement leaders continue to mobilize supporters at home and across the diaspora. Around the world, they characterize as a long-term struggle for self-determination and political recognition. Advocates maintain that despite years of conflict and hardship, commitment to the cause remains strong and unwavering. President Sako has reiterated the movement's determination to dedicate its fullest efforts and resources towards the realization of Ambazonian sovereignty, while according to supporters, the leadership remains focused on advancing the movement's objective with sustained resolve, discipline, and an undistracted commitment to its political aspiration. The message has been received by supporters as an encouragement to remain steadfast in the face of ongoing challenges. Many believe that unity, resilience, and collective action will be essential in sustaining momentum and preserving the aspiration of Southern Cameroonians for future generations. Across communities in the homeland and throughout the diaspora, activists continue to stress the importance of solidarity and shared purpose. They argue that maintaining focus on common goals will strengthen the movement and reinforce efforts aimed at securing what they view as political future of Southern Cameroons. Circle supporters remain optimistic that persistence and determination will continue to guide the movement. They see renewed commitment from the leadership as a signal that the pursuit of self-determination remains active and that efforts towards achieving their stated objective will continue with renewed energy and purpose. Barrister Mbesha, welcome to tonight's Undaunted.
Thank you for having me.
How are you doing tonight?
Great.
All right, we're starting the night with some reassurance by the government of Ambazonia, led by President Samuel Ikome Sako. I'm sure that this reassurance is needed for everyone to know that perseverance and commitment is all that is needed for the struggle. You may want to join your voice to that of the president to have a more reassurance foundation this evening.
Well, what the president has said needs to be repeated a million times over, mostly to Ambanians and secondary to the world, because a liberation struggle is multifaceted. So many people out there, everybody claiming to fight for the liberation of Ambazonia or for the restoration of independence of Southern Cameroon. That's okay. It's okay to say that. But everybody out to fight to the proclamation is equally the leader, because we five leaders. And so unity is important, focus is more important. Because what people, in 2026, we're dealing with the modern world. There are so many things that people WhatsApp groups, what people will YouTube followers, Facebook, everybody saying something, announcing left or right. But after that, after all this, where is the political leadership? Not Facebook leadership, not YouTube leadership, not WhatsApp leadership, political leadership. The political leadership in this struggle or restoration of our independence is found in the government of Ambazonia, government of Cameroon. Structure political resource, effort, be everywhere should accumulate in that design structure. Because you cannot fight for the restoration without a structure. You are restoring what? Your WhatsApp group? No, you are trying to educate to restore the nations. It's just headed by God. And so it is important to have this education. So that people who are following us and those ourselves who are acting, you don't mistake every WhatsApp to be a leader. You don't mistake every YouTube follower or channel or Facebook to just be a leader just because he or she is running a program. Good programs are educational, but sometimes they can be very, very diversional. They divert from the primary goal. And confuse us. At the end of the day, Ambazonians will come to sit down with the to negotiate an end. Down, they will not invite WhatsApp group owners to come and be on the table. They will not invite every YouTube channel follower or owner, or everybody who floats an online newspaper or radio or TV to come and sit on the table.
Barrister, seems your network has been distorted. Barrister, the last few words you spoke were cut off. I think the network. So I'm very sure that the people didn't get the last few words you said. We had some network hitches, so we didn't get you clearly.
I said that at the end of the day, when it comes, when we're talking about negotiations, we will come to the sitting table and talk. People will represent us. But when it comes to time, nobody will sit on the table to represent us. Just like nobody will come from Yaoundé, nobody from Yaoundé will come and represent Cameroon. Yeah. We will not, for example, go to of Cameroon or Issa Chiroma. That's not of Cameroon. And so it applies to us that where we're doing your Facebook, YouTube, or your line radio, focus on one thing, the time will come when everybody will converge and all of Southern Cameroon will be focused on exile. Because that's the structure that represents institutionally, at the very symbolically. Let us that year. Let not mistake everybody who owns China, who owns a group, who one day come to say on TV, say, not even every fighter. Individually, you can say, well, I'm sitting on the as General Tiger. I'm sitting here as General Togandu. Now they will fight, and the foundation focused this intelligence government that represents. That's what I said.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister. All right, thank you, Barrister. Moving on with the rest of the reports this evening, let's head into Bamenda, where residents of the Mile 6 Nkwen industrial zone in Bamenda woke up on Wednesday to the gruesome discovery of a charred human body inside the burnt Toyota Avensis. In a case that has shocked the local community and raised questions about a possible violent killing, well, according to eyewitnesses, flames were spotted in the area late Tuesday night. However, many residents did not realize the severity of the incident until daybreak, when the remains of a vehicle and a body burned beyond recognition were found at the scene. The victim's identity has not yet been established, and authorities have not released any official information regarding the circumstances surrounding the death. Personnel from the Cameroon's Army Rescue Team, alongside officials from the Bamenda City Council, were said to have arrived at the scene on Wednesday morning to secure the area and remove their unidentified human remains for further investigation. Residents who gathered near the scene described the incident as disturbing and unprecedented. Several locals speculated that the victim may have been abducted before being killed, although no evidence has yet been presented to support those claims. Unverified accounts circulated among residents suggest that the victim may have been restrained inside the vehicle before it was set ablaze. However, these reports had not been independently confirmed by authorities or credible sources at the time of publication. The apparent brutality of the incident has fueled concerns among community members, with many calling for a thorough investigation to determine the victim's identity and bring those responsible to justice. Security forces have not yet issued an official statement on the matter, and the motive behind the killing remains unknown. Investigations are expected to continue in the coming days as authorities work to piece together the events that led to the tragic discovery. Barrister Mbesha, there are so many insinuations, but of course you know, and I know, that insinuations do not make for accurate reports. You know, insinuations do not make for accurate reports. There were no eyewitnesses, and so people are insinuating several things, just like we stated in the report. But above all, there are possibilities of what may have happened to the individuals found, in the car. One of the issues or one of the things suspected would have been some kind of, kidnap, some kind of ambush. A whole lot has been speculated. But it doesn't change the fact that residents in Bamenda, where the war has been evident for the past years, are living in tremendous fear, loss of lives on a regular basis. But let's get to hear your point of view.
Well, I think what happened there, the report, as you say, we don't know what happened to the guy. It could have been a crime. It's possible that some people adopted him, stole from him, burned the car. That's a possibility. It could also have been a simple accident. You're driving, something happens to the car will catch fire. Those are all possibilities. But the thing that we take from there is that Mile 6 is not so far away from the residential area. In a normal sense, a car does not just burn it sets off the flames that go up into the sky. Under normal circumstances, people would have seen this thing burning. They would have rushed to the guy's aid. Whether it was put there by somebody, they would have seen the fire, the car burning. They would have rushed there to rescue the thing. Either they would have succeeded or they would have failed. But nobody dare go there. They probably heard some fire, but nobody dare go there. Why? Because of the generalized insecurity in town. Whether somebody did it or not, nobody was prepared to go out at that time to find out what was going on with the car. And so, where the generalized insecurity, we have given this caution so many times and this advice. You have to be careful with yourself. And the people who were there, around there, they were prudent. And I can encourage them to be more prudent, not to go out, because you don't know what might happen to you. And so, the question we should be asking is, if this man and the car are not identified, they don't know the car, to the best of our knowledge, neither do they know the occupant. Therefore, it came from somewhere else, somewhere a little bit distant from there. And the question that is not answered is, what was this man doing out at that time of the night? If he was cautious enough, knowing what Bamenda is for criminals, we will be driving at that hour of the night. Through Bafu, we have heard all these things in Bafu, in Nkwen, everywhere in Bambili, everywhere in Bamenda. Talk less of anywhere else in Amazonia. If the guy had taken this into consideration, might be, have made this. And so it is incumbent on all of us to be more prudent. Late night driving like that is irreversible. In fact, it should not be undertaken. Especially when, because if he died alone, there's no line at the corner. There are bullet things said there. Why did he advance? If he was carrying money, if you were thieves, why do you drive with a lot of the car late in the night? Why even do it at night? It would have been more prudent and for the future that you don't undertake that type of journey. At least if you must die at the time that people will know what killed you. Get hurt at the time that people come to try to rescue you before they will. And so it is a question of prudence. Let every ambassador know that Amazonia in general is a war zone. And Bamenda is a very active war zone. That things that you would otherwise do at normal times should not be ventured there, especially at night. The night is unsafe. There are criminals. There are people who allow government to be there, claiming to be hunting for amber. There are extras everywhere. So be careful with yourself. Amazonia, Southern Cameroon is a war zone. Bamenda in particular is an active war zone. So those in Bamenda and the surroundings should be more careful, give up your life on explicable circumstances. But
all right, thank you, Barrister. But down to education right now. Health, I beg your pardon. In health, Mpox case has been confirmed in Buea as health authorities intensify surveillance. In Buea, health authorities in Buea have confirmed a case of Mpox, triggering an urgent public health response across the districts amid concerns about potential community transmission. According to an outbreak notification dated the 3rd of June and signed by Buea Health District Chief Dr. Ngundi Matthias, all health facilities in the district have been directed to strengthen surveillance and response measures to prevent further spread of the disease. The confirmed case was identified in the Buea Road Health area. Health officials said samples were collected from the patients on the 28th of May 2026 with laboratory confirmation received on the 3rd of June. In response, health facilities have been instructed to conduct active case searches by reviewing consultation registers dating back to May 1st and immediately report any suspected infections. Authorities describe the exercise as urgent and critical to containing the outbreak. Mpox is a viral zoonotic disease caused by the Mpox virus and is endemic in parts of West and Central Africa. The disease typically begins with symptoms such as fever, headache, muscles, pain, swollen lymph nodes, fatigue, and weaknesses, followed by a distinctive rash that progresses through several stages, including vesicles and pustules. Health officials warned that the virus can spread through close contact with infected individuals, contaminated materials, bodily fluids, and infected animals through bites or scratches. The consumption of bushmeat has already been discouraged due to the risk of transmission. Under the district's case definition, a suspected Mpox case is any person who develops a sudden fever followed by a viscous pustular rash, particularly affecting the face, palms, and soles, and who has lived in or visited the Buea Health District since the 1st of May 2026. The confirmed case comes as regional health authorities remain alert to the broader threat of zoonotic disease across Central Africa. While Mpox has been detected in southern Cameroon, concerns persist over the continuing spread of Ebola in the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo, underscoring the region's vulnerability to emerging infectious disease outbreak. Health officials have urged healthcare workers and residents to remain vigilant, promptly report suspected cases, and adhere to recommended infection prevention measures. This version is structured, and all of it will come to life. Barrister, with what we are seeing in West Africa, in DRC Congo, the world is structured towards Ebola, Everyone is looking at Ebola. Everyone is being careful at Ebola. Nations are closing their borders, when it comes to Ebola. But right here in Buea, it just seems like there is a different disease, or they will be struggling with another disease. I don't know from history. I didn't make that research, but from history, has there been other reports of Mpox in Buea before now, or do you think that this is a rising disease that is emerging from the blues? Take us through that route if you have information about it.
I'm not sure that there has been such a case, but whether there has been a case before or not, the truth is that we are now facing the Mpox infections. It's a serious disease, it infects you, it kills. And so what we should be doing now is asking to handle the advice to the people, because it's there. That's the patient line there, we can stay with it. The other advice is first to the administration, the health administration of the Buea. Population. We're here, Buea. This is what you understand. We're here, Buea. Don't deceive yourself. Small. From Buea, for example, to Limbe, Victoria, it's the town. From Buea to Tico, it's a few kilometers. 10, 15 kilometers, 4 miles, 6 miles. That's one town. From Buea to Muyuka, it's about 15 kilometers. That's 10 miles. So the whole of Fako, is called, you can call it Buea in terms of this infection. And so whatever thing they are doing should not be limited to the spot called Buea. It should be expanded to cover the whole of Fako, if not beyond. It is infectious. People are moving from Buea. People live in Buea and work in Tico. People live in Tico and work in Buea. People live in Buea and work in Buea. Buea and work in Limbe, and vice versa. In fact, people live in Buea, work in Douala. And so what we need to do is to let the people know that whatever precautionary measures are given should not be limited to Buea. To the government, because all this depends upon the government effort. If the government must master it more than just talk. The national health centers, we don't have equipment to do those tests. They don't have the capacity. They need to do more. Remember 2 days ago I was talking about the hospital. I was talking about emergency. You find something, there's nothing there. It's not enough to call a health center, find a bandage. What's up in Buea, in Fako, most importantly in Cameroon, there's no electricity. So this is related on electricity that empowers the equipment. And so this is a big problem that requires urgent and more tactical way to handle it. Are the authorities in Buea sufficiently adapted? Are they sufficiently trained for, I think, but they don't have the necessary equipment. They require money. Let this not be like COVID-19. COVID-19 was a worldwide concern. And Cameroon got aid, financial assistance from the World Bank and other organizations. That COVID-19. What happened with the money? They stole the money. They stole the money. Even ordinary, they could not produce them. They ordered them from places, the labor and said made in Cameroon. And so this should not be the same thing, because we are beginning from that experience that attracted a lot of money, but little money went in for them. You know, the COVID-19 are still sitting there in government. It is not me saying. They investigated, they wrote a report, names are there, they stood. And so that must not repeat itself in the case of this. They have to open. Because even if Undaunted is supposed to be their paymaster general, get them say 20 million. I end up getting less than 500,000. The rest of the money on the road. But this is concerns people's lives. All those political people in Buea, in Fako, in the Southwest, and in Cameroon in general. No. Why we fight for independence? Health emergencies are the responsibility of the occupant. Those who occupy us have things fully, because they will be held accountable, notwithstanding the fact that they are occupiers. And so let the people be careful, the ordinary citizen. I am sure there are medical directives, advisories that they'll give to the population. Try as far as possible to keep to the advice. You talk about bushmeat, precious thing to people. So because they don't have the money to buy the cow, what they call cow meat. So this from that. You can eat your vegetable. Meat is not the thing that you must eat to survive. Eating wild, monkeys, porcupine, and all those things that will feed the. They might be very dangerous health-wise. So I would only advise the people to take the advice. I will advise the administrators to keep their eyes open. We will advise the people to make sure the money gets there. If there's money needed, that is not filtered through the cracks on the road. Over to you.
Oh, Barrister, I want to find out with the health sector in the Cameroons in general, not just in southern Cameroons, the Cameroons in general, not being at its best, do you think that they will be able to contain this virus, that even if it spreads, it will be properly administered at the health level? Do you think that they can properly contain this virus at the moment?
They can if they know how to organize themselves. For example, go back to Cameroon. We are talking about in terms of health, they will have something they call the Buea Health District. You move down to Tico, which is just a few kilometers away, they have the Tico District, and so on and so forth. These are headed by medical doctors. But what I'm saying is that forget about those health districts, because for you to go and work in Tico, you need the authority of the head of that district, or in Moruka, or in Buea, as the case might be. Let them coordinate their efforts, their medical efforts, and forget about this geographical limitation. The Buea health district might just go from Buea to somewhere near Motengene. The Tico health district will go from somewhere and end somewhere in Moruka, and so on and so forth. And so this can be properly coordinated if they have a regional service for this type of outbreaks, because they come unannounced. They have to be fought collectively if we want to succeed. Because somebody could carry that in from Buea to Tico, or from Tico to Moyuka, or from Douala to Buea. And so the effort must be, they must cooperate entirely in terms of the sharing of knowledge, entirely on the, wholly on the technical know-how, the technical expertise, and the strategic way to fight such an outbreak. That's what I'm talking about.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Barrister. We head into our next report, where there seems to be an under-reportage in some of the violence, especially against women. And so the Cameroonian government has sounded the alarm over rising violence against women and children, describing the trend as a national emergency after new figures revealed a steady increase in reported femicides over the past 3 years. At a joint press conference in Yaoundé, 7 government institutions, including the Ministry of Communication, the Ministry of Women's Empowerment and the Family, and the Ministry of Justice, pledged stronger action against gender-based violence. According to figures presented during the briefing, 50 women were murdered in 2023, 67 in 2024, and 77 in 2025. Women rights organizations have already recorded at least 26 cases in the first quarter of 2026. Authorities also reported around 20 cases of violence against children, including sexual abuse and murder, between 2025 and 2026. Opening the event, Communication Minister Renee Emmanuel Sadi said violence against women and children could no longer be treated as a private matter hidden behind closed doors, describing it as an issue requiring urgent national attention. Government officials acknowledged that the true scale of the problem may be significantly higher, citing widespread underreporting in communities where domestic abuse often goes unreported. However, these figures have also sparked debate amongst observers who note that the reported number of femicides remains small compared with the broader human toll of the ongoing war in southern Cameroons. The war, which began in 2016, has already claimed thousands of lives and displaced hundreds of thousands of people. This is according to international organizations and human rights groups. And of course, you know, women and children have also been affected, facing killings, sexual abuse, violence, abductions, and other abuses linked to the armed war. And so analysts argue that while the rise in femicides deserves urgent attention, any national conversation about violence against women must also account for the impact of the war in what they have tagged English-speaking areas, where many incidents remain undocumented. Well, for now, the government has promised a firm response to gender-based violence. Whether those commitments leads to stronger protection, more effective investigation, and successful prosecution will be closely watched by civil society groups and the public alike. Well, barrister, while trying to have this comparison, because I could say that the original report that has been spread did not have the inclusion of the war in southern Cameroons, what they call Anglophones, right? It is also obvious that they minimize the issue, making it look like lives were not lost in southern Cameroons. Because I would wonder how in 2026 alone, according to the report that they have presented for the world to see, in 2026 alone, they have recorded 26 lives for just the women. So you would wonder, at the peak of the war, with all of the genocides from Bamenda to Nkwen to all of the popular genocides that has happened, they are recording 67, 25 of women and children. I know you would agree that these numbers do not in any way represent the number of women and children that have died so far. But then, let's get your thoughts. Do you think that those initial figures actually represents the figures of the women that have died? I will try to go through those figures again so that you can see why we believe that they are trying to under-record this war that has been going on. All right? Where we want to start, of course, like I said, in 2026, they are saying 26 cases. When we started the report, at the beginning of the report, we saw, they said 20 cases between 2025 and 2026. 20 cases alone. 20 cases, that's 20 women between 2025 and 2026. That's highly underreported. But start with the report while I try to get all of the figures that they are trying to publicize. Go ahead, let's get your point of view.
Well, I don't know whether their figures are correct or not, but I think we are the ones making the mistake. When they sit in Yaoundé there and they are reporting their national statistics, do they actually include Ambazonia? They don't include Ambazonia. Before, let us just look at what they're talking. Who are those sitting there? Government ministers. And they're talking there. Why are they talking? Because the child was raped somewhere in Yaoundé. That's the thing that has pushed them out there. That rape is a crime. It is criminalized in the penal code. And so, did they need a government minister to come and tell us why they are not being prosecuted? Those gangsters who sat there, they are all politicians, government ministers, government spokesmen. How many investigators, security people were in charge of this, of investigating and bringing the people to book? We're sitting there with them to promise that they will investigate. They will bring the people to book. They'll be tried and they'll have their day in court. How many of them are there? Those are government ministers. So if you take anything serious from those people, you're deceiving yourself. But back to the statistics again. Do those statistics include us? No, they are not reporting about Ambazonia. They know in their minds that we are not part of the system. Because the violence against women and violence against children on the shore of Ambazonia has been ongoing for the past 9 years. Very often orchestrated or encouraged by the government. What happened in Cuba? When they killed those children, were they not children? Was there no violence against children? What happened to the perpetrators? What happened to the investigations? Nothing. What happened to Florence Ayafa? Was she not a woman? But she's an Amazonian. They decapitated her in the street. Nobody has been held accountable for it. No explanation has been given for that. What happened to the children in Garabo? What happened to baby Martha? What happened to Mommy Abby? These are all women and children. Have they, that report they are giving there, are they included in those statistics? No. But again, in Buea, as late as last year, and even till today, there's the guy sitting there called Moja, whose duty officially is to go and catch women, drag them even when they are pregnant, to jail for suspecting that they had boyfriends who were amber fighters. Is that not a woman? The unborn child in that woman's womb is not a child. It's a child. And so again, they are not talking about, they can talk about their Cameroon, they are not talking about Ambazonia. Ambazonia, the abuses against women, the impunity against on the people who perpetrate those things on Ambazonian children is glaring. It's coordinated from the government. I just given Moja, who has done this with impunity in the middle of town, in open daylight, without question asked. He shot people and killed, but we're not dealing with those people that he killed. We're dealing with the pregnant woman that he dragged there, compares her to give delivery. That woman gave birth in prison. What did the government of Yaoundé do? What did these ministers? They didn't see that this was all on audio and video. People saw it. They saw it. So those were not women. There's a child in Moyoka burned in oil. It's not a child who deserves protection, and so on and so forth. And so let us not confuse these statistics. Whether the statistics are right or wrong, my personal take is they are not including Ambazonians. Because the case of Ambazonia is dire. It is something that requires more than just government. Because government are the perpetrators. They encourage it against our own children. They encourage it against our women. They encourage it against our citizens. What's their goal? Their goal is that they can extract confession from these women. Their goal is that they can extract fear for anybody supporting the so-called Ambazonia. When the women in the corner moved on foot to go and liberate their children in the brigade in Buea, thousands of them. The children they were looking, they were playing football. Were they not children? They were children. And so again, I don't think their statistics include us. But whatever they are doing there is politically, it's being politically displayed there to buy time, to save face saving. Because what is the role of that range of government, so-called government ministers? A chunk of them women. Do those children, those are mothers as well. Those are mothers. And we have those ministers among ourselves who are also women. When they torture other women, those very ministers who are women from our own place, is not torture. I've said this before, let me repeat. This war that we're fighting started in 2016. Why? Because Nalova in Buea was the rector of the university. He saw those girls in mud. She invited the police and the gendarmes to come and do that. She's a woman. Those were children. That was not a crime. According to them, are those children included in those statistics over the years? No. Their own figures have no meaning politically. They have no meaning for criminal investigation. Because what you can do it to any Ambazonian woman, to any Ambazonian child, that is good, as long as that promotes Yaoundé goal. Over to you.
All right, like you have said, we should ignore the numbers because obviously they do not believe that Ambazonians are their people. Because one would wonder how it's possible that with all of the cases between 2024 and 2025, that we have all of these massacres. They recorded 67. In 2023, they recorded 50. And, with very, very poor numbers that we have there. But like you have advised, that is the number that they have because they know that Ambazonian does not belong to them. All right, with that take, we'll round up this report, Barrister. But in a place where these reports are, going outside the state, going outside the nation, how will it be perceived? Don't you think that they will make the fact that Ambazonians are war, they will make it look like, it's not a big deal with their numbers, because at the end of the day, they would want to project that to the outside world, just like we are trying to correct, right? But let's get what you think that they are trying to do. Or well, I am actually thinking that they are trying to project that, nothing is going on, there is no war. I mean, look at the rare number of death cases that has been recorded in all of these years.
No, I think they are trying to cover their shit in public. It's like somebody going to sit in the open days and thinking that you're hiding. You see yourself. No, they are seeing you. Again, you're talking about the war. Rape of women. Is it new? It has been reported officially by the different press. Women are raped every day. In obsession in Bamenda, in Buea. It is reported, not by you and me. Can they hide that fact? Or those are not women? Rape has become a tool of a weapon of war. As far as this war is concerned, it is reported. It is not imaginary. And so when they sit there and write out those things, it is trying to cover their own mess. They are trying to sell it politically. That's why they bring the politicians there. They don't just bring ministers. One person is there, very important, the spokesman for government. The spokesman for government. And so they are trying to show the government is doing everything possible. They're trying to save their faces publicly. But it is really out there. If there's impunity, if there's sanctions, the people who are supposed to give the sanctions are aware of what is going on in Cameroon. They are selling after the market. Women have not been protected anywhere unless you are the wife of a big man. Even the wife of a big man is not protected. Remember that the Kabaye Yebre who died. Boko Haram adopted his wife. They paid millions to get her free. Other women over there were adopted and raped by Boko Haram. Nobody cared to give even a dime to buy part. This is documented in all the reports. And so these are people who are, I don't know how to describe them. They are unrepentant. How would they tell that again, that woman in Buea there, in the face, say the woman is protected? When the woman was taken pregnant to jail, she had lawyers who asked for bail for her situation as a pregnant mother. Let her go back home. They refused her bail. She got back in jail. Where else does that happen? And at the end of the day, she was tried for what? No crime. She's gone back home after having gone through that ordeal. So their reporting about the war is faulty. It is well known because they don't even do it hiding. They do these things in public. And so talk about the protection of women and children. Well, there's a whole chapter about it. If they are talking about war, as what is going on in Amazonia, even during war, there are conventions on how to protect women and children during times of war or in the war zone. They have signed up to those conventions. They have refused to respect any of those conventions that they signed up to. And so they have no excuse for doing what they are doing in terms of Amazonia. The conventions are there. They have signed up to them. They will respect nothing because they bear nothing will happen to them. Why? Because they have the money. They have the power. In Cameroon, most importantly, there are crimes that you cannot even prosecute without the authority of the president. There are crimes that you cannot prosecute without the authority of the president. And so it is unfortunate that all these things are happening now. It is good that the world is realizing it. I just hope that the rest of the world will see why we're fighting. They will sympathize with us. That a normal human being, a normal mother, a normal child should not go through all this type of nonsense. Because of those things, those threats are life-threatening. Most women have died. Some have died. A woman who has gone through rape who did not die will live with the sky of rape for the rest of her life. And so again, these people are pretenders. And again, let me insist, those figures they are not reliable. One, I believe strongly 90% that they don't even include Southern Cameroon, from Limbe to Frankankan, from Akwaya to Idabuto. They don't include figures from there, because those figures from there are tenfold what they have just shown up there. Over to you.
All right, very sad one there. But Barrister, thank you so much for your great analysis this night. So at this juncture, that would, let you go. Hopefully, over the weekend, we would see you on Amazonian this week.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. Now, when we return from the break, we'll head into Africa, where Benin's new president visits Niger and Burkina Faso in bid to reset regional ties. In a significant diplomatic development for West Africa, Benin's newly inaugurated president, Romuald Wadagani, on Tuesday visited neighboring Niger and Burkina Faso, signaling a potential toll in relations between Benin and the military-led Sahel states. The visit comes amid efforts to ease tensions that have strained relations between Benin and Niger since the 2023 military coup that brought Abdurrahmane Tiani to power. Following the coup, Niger's military authorities severed ties with traditional ally France and adopted a more confrontational stance towards some neighboring countries. One of the most contentious issues was Niger's decision to close its border with Benin, accusing the coastal nation of hosting French military facilities allegedly intended to destabilize Niger. Benin consistently denied the allegations, but the dispute disrupted trade and regional cooperation between the two countries. Following talks in Niamey, President Wadagani and General Tiani issued a joint statement underscoring their commitment to rebuilding bilateral relations. The leaders pledged to work together to remove barriers hindering cooperation, with a particular focus on reopening the shared border. The two heads of state expressed their commitment to working to remove all obstacles to strengthening cooperation between the two countries, particularly the reopening of the border, the statement said. The meeting also highlighted growing concerns over security challenges facing the region. Both countries have experienced increasing attacks by jihadist groups and criminal networks operating across porous borders. In their joint declaration, the leaders reaffirmed their determination to coordinate efforts against terrorism and banditry. They affirmed their commitment to join forces in fighting the scourge of terrorism and banditry that has afflicted the region for several years. The diplomatic outreach is being closely watched across West Africa, where political realignment have accelerated following a series of military takeovers in the Sahel. Niger has strengthened ties with fellow junta-led states, Mali and Burkina Faso, through the Alliance of Sahel States, a regional bloc established as an alternative framework for political, economic, and security cooperation. President Wadagani's visit marks one of the first major foreign policy initiatives since taking office on the 24th of May and could have paved the way for improved relations between Benin and the AES member nations and states. Analysts say a reopening of the Benin-Niger border would not only restore vital trade routes but also enhance regional security cooperation at a time when extremist violence continues to spread across parts of West Africa. The talks are expected to be followed by further diplomatic engagements aimed at rebuilding trust and strengthening collaboration on security, economic integration, and cross-border development initiatives. Well away from that, let's head into the globe, where UN General Assembly elects 5 nations to Security Council for 2027 to 2028 term. The Nations General Assembly on Wednesday elected 5 countries to serve as non-permanent members of the United Nations Security Council for a 2-year term beginning on the 1st of January 2027. The newly elected members are Zimbabwe, Austria, Kyrgyzstan, Portugal, and Trinidad and Tobago. Zimbabwe secured its seat unopposed under the African group's allocation, while the other countries were elected according to regional representation arrangement that ensures geographic balance within the Security Council. The election represents a significant diplomatic achievement for Kyrgyzstan, which will take up a seat on the Security Council for the first time since gaining independence and joining the United Nations in 1992. The Central Asian nation has long sought a greater role in multilateral diplomacy and international security discussions, making the election a landmark moment in its foreign policy history. The Security Council, one of the United Nations' most powerful bodies, is responsible for maintaining international peace and security. Its duties include authorizing peacemakers' operation, imposing sanctions, and addressing conflicts and crises across the world. The Council insists on 15 members, 5 permanent members with veto powers: China, France, Russia, United Kingdom, and United States, and 10 non-permanent members elected by the General Assembly for staggered 2-year terms. The 5 newly elected countries will replace outgoing members whose terms concludes at the end of 2026, so joining the Council at a time when it continues to grapple with a range of global challenges, including armed conflicts, humanitarian crisis, and emerging security threats. Diplomats say the incoming members are expected to bring diverse regional perspectives to the Council's deliberation, reflecting the UN's commitment to inclusive representation in international decision-making. Their tenure will run from 1st of January 2027 through December 31st, 2028. That's it for tonight's Undaunted. But before we go, let's bring you headlines that made it to tonight's headlines. Tonight on Undaunted, we told you that Southern Cameroon's leadership reaffirms commitment to sovereignty aspiration. Also tonight, a charred body discovered inside burnt vehicle in Bamenda Mine 6 Nkwen industrial zone. Mpox case has been confirmed in Buea. Cameroon declares violence against women as national emergency with unreported figures. Also tonight on the African scene, Benin's new president visits Niger and Burkina Faso in a bid to reset regional ties. While on the global scene, UN General Assembly elects 5 nations to Security Council for 2027-2028 term. That's it for tonight's Undaunted. Bringing into the news untold stories. On behalf of Barista Mbesha, our in-house analyst, and a team behind tonight's production, it's good night and God bless.